I want to ask you something personal. When was the last time you really paid attention to the small changes happening around you? Maybe you've been taking longer naps lately, or your wife barely touches her favourite meal anymore. Perhaps your husband seems quieter during family gatherings, or your parents talk about people you've never heard them mention before. These moments might feel ordinary, even insignificant. But what if I told you that these gentle shifts could be you or your loved one's way of preparing for something much bigger? The truth is, our bodies are incredibly wise. They send us messages long before we're ready to hear them. Doctors at leading medical centres like Cleveland Clinic and Johns Hopkins have documented these patterns countless times. They've learned to recognise the quiet language our bodies speak when life is drawing to a close. And surprisingly, these signs are rarely dramatic or sudden. They're often so subtle that families dismiss them entirely, thinking it's just getting older or having an off day. But understanding these signals isn't about giving up hope. It's about giving something even more precious, your presence, your patience, and your love when it matters most. When you know what to look for, you can respond with wisdom instead of worry, with comfort instead of confusion. You can make the most of every ordinary moment that's actually extraordinary. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could change how you see these changes, and more importantly, how you respond to them with grace and understanding. Let's start with something almost everyone notices but rarely connects the dots on: sleep patterns that suddenly shift in ways that don't make sense. Margaret was 78 and had always been an early bird, coffee at 6, morning news by 7, and never needed a nap in her life. Then, one spring, her daughter noticed something different. Margaret was dozing off during their afternoon phone calls. By summer, she was sleeping until noon and staying awake until 3 in the morning, wandering the house while everyone else slept. Her family thought it was maybe depression or boredom. They tried keeping her busier during the day, encouraged more activities, even suggested she see someone about sleep medications. But what they didn't realise was that Margaret's body was entering a different phase entirely. Medical researchers have found that as our bodies begin to slow down, our internal clock starts to change. The brain systems that once kept us alert during the day and sleepy at night begin to shift their priorities. This isn't insomnia or laziness, it's the body's way of conserving energy for what matters most, keeping the heart beating, the lungs working, the essential systems running. Everything else, including normal sleep schedules, becomes secondary. If you're noticing this with someone you love, don't fight it. Instead, pay attention. Keep a simple record of how much they're sleeping during the day and night. If it adds up to more than 15 or 16 hours regularly, that's worth mentioning to their doctor. More importantly, change your approach. Instead of trying to keep them awake or stick to old routines, meet them where they are. Sit with them during those long afternoon rests. Read the newspaper out loud, play soft music, or just hold their hand. These quiet moments can become some of the most meaningful connections you'll ever share. Remember, recognizing this change isn't about accepting defeat. It's about choosing to love them exactly where they are for as long as you have. The second thing families often miss is when food stops being interesting. Think about someone in your life who's always loved eating. Maybe they cooked every Sunday, or never missed dessert, or always asked for seconds. Then slowly, almost without you noticing, they start leaving food on their plate. They pick at meals that used to be their favourites. They say they're just not hungry, or that nothing tastes quite right anymore. Robert was like this. For 60 years, he never missed his wife's meatloaf dinner on Wednesdays. Then one week, he only ate a few bites. The next week, he didn't ask for it at all. His wife thought maybe she'd changed something in the recipe, or that he was feeling under the weather. She tried making his other favourite foods, offered smaller portions, even bought his favourite ice cream. Nothing worked. What she didn't understand was that Robert's body was naturally shifting its priorities. Specialists in end-of-life care explain that as our bodies prepare for their final chapter, digestion becomes less important. Energy gets redirected to keeping vital organs working. Food, which once brought pleasure and was necessary for daily energy, simply becomes less relevant. It's not stubbornness, and it's not sadness. It's biology doing exactly what it's designed to do. This can be heartbreaking for families, especially when sharing meals has always been how they show love and care. The instinct is to encourage more eating, to worry about nutrition, to push just a little harder. But forcing food can actually cause discomfort or even harm. Instead, think small and gentle. Offer tiny portions of soft, familiar foods, a spoonful of mashed potatoes, a few sips of warm soup, maybe just a bite of something sweet they used to enjoy. Don't measure success by how much they eat. Measure it by the time you spend together, the conversation you share, the comfort you provide just by being there. If you're finding this helpful so far, please leave a comment with the number 2 below. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Your support helps us create content that can make a real difference when it matters most. Now, let's continue. Here's something that might surprise you. When someone starts pulling away from social activities they used to love, it's not always depression or feeling unwell. Sometimes it's something much deeper. Joseph was the life of every family gathering. He told stories, played cards with his grandchildren, and never missed a phone call from his old army buddies. Then gradually, he started declining invitations. He'd say he was too tired for visitors or that he just wanted a quiet day. His family worried he was feeling lonely or left out. They tried harder to include him, planned smaller gatherings, even offered to bring the party to him. But Joseph kept choosing solitude over company, quiet over conversation. What his family didn't realize was that this wasn't rejection, it was reflection. Doctors who specialize in this field recognize that many people naturally begin turning inward as life nears its end. It's not about shutting people out, but about going deeper within themselves. Think of it as a spiritual preparation, a time for processing a lifetime of experiences, relationships and memories. For the person going through it, this solitude often feels peaceful rather than lonely. They might be reviewing their life, finding closure with old hurts, or simply savouring quiet moments in ways they never had time for before. The mistake families make is taking this personally or seeing it as a problem to solve. What helps most is presence without pressure. Don't force conversations or activities. Instead, offer gentle companionship. Sit in the same room while they rest, play music they used to love softly in the background, or simply let them know you're there if they need anything. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give is respecting their need for quiet while still showing them they're not alone. Something else that often puzzles families is when their loved one starts having conversations with people who aren't there, or talking about visiting places from long ago as if they're happening right now. Eleanor was sharp as ever during the day. She remembered everyone's birthday, followed her favourite TV shows, and could discuss current events with anyone. But in the evenings, her daughter would hear her talking softly to her deceased husband George, asking him if he was ready for their trip to the lake house they'd sold 20 years earlier. At first, her daughter would gently correct her, reminding her that George had passed away and they no longer owned the lake house. But Eleanor would become agitated and confused. A hospice nurse explained that these experiences are incredibly common and usually not distressing for the person having them. Changes in the brain, whether from reduced oxygen, medication effects, or the natural process of aging, can create vivid experiences that feel completely real. Rather than seeing this as confusion, it might be better understood as the mind's way of processing a lifetime of love and memories. These conversations often bring comfort, not distress. They can feel like visits from cherished people, or returns to happy places and times. Instead of correcting these moments, try listening to them. Ask gentle questions about what they're experiencing. You might learn stories you've never heard before, or gain insight into relationships and memories that shape their life. Write down what they share if you can. These glimpses into their inner world can become precious gifts, both for them and for you. Rather than trying to bring them back to your reality, consider joining them in theirs for a few moments. It's not about agreeing that what they're seeing is literally happening, but about honouring the meaning and comfort it brings them. One of the most noticeable changes is when physical strength seems to disappear almost overnight. This isn't the gradual weakness that comes with normal aging. It's more sudden and pronounced. Dorothy had always taken pride in her independence. She cooked her own meals, tended her garden, and walked to the corner store twice a week. Then, one morning, she couldn't get out of bed without help. By the end of that week, she needed assistance walking to the bathroom. Her family panicked, thinking she'd had a stroke or developed a serious illness. But medical tests showed nothing acute had happened. What was occurring was that Dorothy's body was redirecting its energy. Muscles require enormous amounts of energy to maintain, and when the body needs to prioritize vital organs like the heart and lungs, muscle strength is one of the first things to decline. This isn't about giving up or not trying hard enough. It's about biology making hard choices about where to use limited resources. The danger comes when families misunderstand this change. They might encourage their loved one to keep pushing, to fight through the weakness, or to exercise more. But this can lead to falls, injuries, and emotional distress as the person feels like they're failing to meet expectations. What helps is making the environment safer and more supportive. Remove tripping hazards, add grab bars and stable chairs where they're needed, and accept that mobility aids aren't signs of defeat, but tools for dignity and safety. Most importantly, offer help without judgment. Let them know that needing assistance doesn't make them a burden. It makes them human. If you're still with me, please comment the number 5 below to let me know. And remember to subscribe if you haven't already. These insights could make all the difference in how you support someone you love during their most vulnerable time. Changes in breathing can be one of the most frightening signs for families to witness. Breathing might become very shallow, then suddenly rapid, or there might be long pauses that make you hold your own breath until it starts again. Thomas showed this pattern in his final weeks. His breathing would speed up for several breaths, then stop completely for what felt like forever, then resume as gently as if nothing had happened. His wife would sit by his bedside, timing these pauses, terrified each time that this might be the end. But nurses explained that these changes, while dramatic to witness, are usually not uncomfortable for the person experiencing them. The heart and lungs are working differently now, conserving energy and adjusting to the body's changing needs. This can create patterns called Cheney-Stokes breathing, where clusters of breaths alternate with pauses. The important thing to understand is that this is rarely a medical emergency requiring intervention. It's part of a natural process that the body manages on its own. What helps most is creating comfort rather than trying to fix the breathing pattern. Propping the head up with pillows, keeping the room peaceful, ensuring good air circulation, and providing a calm presence can make these moments easier for everyone. Speaking softly or holding their hand can provide reassurance, even if they don't respond outwardly. The goal isn't to normalize the breathing, but to normalize the experience by surrounding it with love and peace. The final sign I want to share isn't physical at all, but it's one of the most profound. Many people begin what you might call emotional housekeeping in their final months or weeks. They start reaching out to old friends, having conversations about regrets or forgiveness, and giving away possessions that hold special meaning. Frank demonstrated this beautifully. One day he asked his daughter to help him call his brother, whom he hadn't spoken to in over a decade. Nobody even remembered what they'd argued about, but Frank felt strongly that he needed to make peace. He also began going through his workshop, giving each tool to a different family member with a story about when he'd used it or why it was special. His family worried this meant he was giving up, but what Frank was actually doing was creating closure and leaving legacy. This emotional preparation is incredibly common among people who sense their time is limited. It's not about resignation, but about resolution. They want to tie up loose ends, express love that might have gone unsaid, and ensure that meaningful objects go to people who will treasure them. The mistake families often make is discouraging these conversations or gestures because they seem too final or emotional. But these moments are actually gifts, chances to connect on a deeper level. To hear stories you might never have heard otherwise, and to receive something meaningful that will comfort you long after they're gone. If your loved one wants to have difficult conversations, make phone calls, or give away treasured items, support them in doing so. These aren't signs of giving up, they're signs of wisdom, of someone who understands that love is best expressed clearly and directly while there's still time. Let me bring all of this together for you. These 7 signs, changes in sleep, appetite, social energy, perception, strength, breathing, and emotional preparation, aren't random symptoms. They're a language, a way our bodies and spirits communicate when life is transitioning toward its close. Recognizing them isn't about losing hope or preparing for the worst. It's about loving better, caring more wisely, and being present in ways that truly matter. When you understand what these changes mean, you can respond with comfort instead of confusion, with patience instead of frustration. You can stop trying to fix what isn't broken and start honoring what is sacred. These moments, difficult as they are, can become opportunities for the deepest kind of connection, the kind that transcends words and touches something eternal in all of us. For families, this knowledge transforms everything. Instead of fighting against these natural changes, you can work with them. Instead of feeling helpless, you can feel helpful in ways that actually matter. A gentle touch, a patient presence, a willingness to listen to stories or sit in comfortable silence. These simple acts become profound gifts when someone is preparing to let go. For those who might be experiencing these signs themselves, please know that recognizing them isn't about giving up. It's about accepting what is, while still embracing what remains. Every moment of connection, every shared memory, every expression of love still matters immensely. In fact, it might matter more now than ever before. Thank you for staying with me through this important conversation. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Share one thing that resonated with you today, or tell us about a moment when you recognized one of these signs in your own experience. Your stories help all of us learn and feel less alone in these difficult but meaningful times. If this video helped you understand something important, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications turned on, because we're committed to creating content that helps you navigate life's most challenging and sacred moments with wisdom, courage, and love. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll continue exploring how to bring more compassion and understanding to the people and situations that matter most.